Good afternoon, lovely people. I hope you're all well and tucked up somewhere dry and warm. Oh my goodness, this wet weather we're having, crazy. It sort of explains the mess all around me today as well. This flat is, there's just stuff hanging to dry everywhere. These are my bags of lentils. So on the way home from the garden, I got absolutely soaked. My granny trolley got pretty wet as well. Fortunately, they didn't get wet, but they did feel damp. So I've just popped them on the radiator to help them dry out a bit. Now this radiator, I only put it on for about half an hour in the evening, just to take the edge off the cold. So they'll be fine on there. It'll just help get rid of any dampness. I hope it will, before I carry on with all the threshing. And behind me I've got my washing hanging. Oh, but this is gorgeous. See this fabric? Lemons, zesty gorgeous lemons. A couple of days ago I went out on the hunt for things for my shop, items, fabrics, what have you, and found this. I think it was a cocked duvet cover. It's tiny, but there's about 1, 2, maybe 3 meters of fabric in it, and it's gorgeous fabric. So it's had a wash and a press, and it's just finishing drying before I start cutting into it to make some bunting. Anyway, never mind all that. This is a job that would probably be easier to do in the shed in terms of mess, but honestly it was so damp down there, I was getting more and more chilly. I thought, nah, we'll do it at home. Plus, I hadn't taken some of the stuff I needed. So today is all about looking after my gorgeous Felco Secateurs. These are number 2 Secateurs. Now, I'll put a link to these in the box below. They are really expensive. I think they're about £40 a pair. Oh my goodness. These were a gift to me from my lovely friend Jan over in Seattle. She's a professional landscape gardener, so she knows about tools. Well, if someone's going to know about tools, it's going to be a professional, isn't it? So they're not something I would necessarily be able to buy for myself, but as a gift, how wonderful. And I was thinking about this actually, that, you know, so often with our tools, pretty much anything in life, isn't it? You know, when you buy cheap, it shows. But expensive, well, who can afford? And I was thinking, you know, I know some of you in your families have a gifting spend limit of say 10 quid. Maybe put something like this on your birthday or Christmas wish list, and then maybe 3 or 4 or 5 members of your family can club together and get you something that's going to last forever. More of that in a minute. You know, I was given my hori knife, 3 years ago by my friend Jackie over in Canada. It's fantastic. I'm never without it in the garden. You'll have seen it in video after video after video. It's fantastic. The thing is, it's an original one. And again, they cost, I think they're about sort of £35. It's a huge amount of money, you know. For a lot of us, that's more than our spare cash in a month. But again, it's one of those things that's worth investing in the real one. There are loads of cheap imitations, and I've heard loads of tales of woe from people talking about the blade coming out the handle, the blade snapping, the handle snapping, what have you. So again, maybe it's one of those things you can think about for next Christmas or your birthday, is to let all your friends, family know this would be something brilliant for me. Get together, club together. Thank you very much. Right, so one of the reasons I'm banging on about it is because, like I say, with cheap tools, you know, are they going to break in a year? Are they going to break in 2 years? Look, even if they last, let's say you buy a pair of Secateurs for a tenner, and in 2 years' time they're bust. you know, if you're gardening over the course of 30, 40 years, how much money are you going to spend when you're replacing your secateurs over and over again? And by the way, no, this is not a paid promotion, of course it's not. It's just that point about, you know, spend wisely, spend once. And the great thing about these, the Felcos in particular, I believe you can actually send your whole pair back to them for reconditioning. I think that's true. Certainly you can get spare parts for them, which is great. And I love, and you know, in this day and age of trying not to waste, trying to be mindful about not putting stuff in the bin and it ending up in landfill or worse, they're built for longevity. In theory, this should be the only pair of secateurs I need now until the day I die. So it makes sense to maintain them. When a tool is expensive, maintain it. I mean, even if it's a cheap tool, maintain it. But by maintaining this and cleaning it today, sharpening my blades, what I'm trying to do is make these last a lifetime, because they're too expensive to be replacing every other year or so. I'm super nervous about doing this today because there is a blade involved, and I think you all know by now that I have a deep-seated phobia of sharps, anything sharp. But the big thing with self-reliance is doing it yourself and not paying someone else to do it. So I'm jolly well going to have a go. Just to say before I do start, show you a bit closer, I have, as you can see on the handles, I've kind of washed the worst of the mud off already, because they really, really have been muddy, because they got so much use over the autumn and into the early winter when, well, you saw in the garden, it was a squelch fest out there. Right, let me show you my bits of kit before we get close up and personal with it. So I've got some newspaper to put on my table because, like I said, if I was doing this in the garden, the mess wouldn't matter too much. I've got a little dish. That's to put all my screws and bits and bobs on so I don't lose, they don't go flying and disappear under my bureau or something. Screwdriver. I've got an old rubbishy screwdriver that's really lost its, you're not going to be able to pick that up, I don't think, that's lost its head, but so it's more like a point now, but that might be useful for one of the operations I need to do. I've got a spanner. Look at the size of it. That's a little bit big for the job. It is adjustable. It's the only spanner I've got, so like I said, it's adjustable, it'll have to do. I've got some wire wool for cleaning. I've got my sharpening stone that I've invested in. I think, what was that? That cost me £5 from my local ironmongers, who I try to go to all the time to support a local small business. It's quite possible that I could have taken the bus to one of the big out-of-town garden centre DIY centres. But A, like I say, I want to support a small business, and B, to do that out of town one, well, it's £1.50 each way on the bus, that's £3. So if I was just going for one thing, even if this was £3 there, by the time I've added my bus fare, it's £6. So, you know, makes sense to me. Support local, it's dead quick and easy, it's just across the road from me, brilliant. And I've got some WD-40, good old WD-40, and I was looking and it actually says, it's got a description of all the different things you can do with it. It says, lubricates and protects secateurs. Get in! Oh, and then finally, I've got an old rag. I have loads of these rags at home. It's just a little cotton. It started life as a dishcloth, but then when they get really manky, like this one, actually it's not too manky, I keep them for mopping up spills, just wiping something, like if I'm decorating, wiping a splodge of paint off. Today I'll be using it with the WD-40, and then later on it'll go in the washing machine, get another wash and be used another day. So I think, oh, and my bottle of water, of course my bottle of water. Let's get you guys in closer and let's see. Oh, and I should just say, oh my goodness, this is really important. This is a massive thank you to Cliff at Castle Hill Gardens. I know that there are loads of you, I think probably the majority of you watch his channel too. We all adore Cliff. I watched his video on how to do this. So without his advice, I wouldn't even have a clue where to start with this today. So thank you for the instructions, Cliff. I'm going to have a go, and put it this way, if I can do this today, anyone can. Anyone can. You know, obviously Cliff has got years and years and years of experience. I think the secateurs that he was cleaning are something like 20 years old. So it just shows, doesn't it, how you can keep them going. So yeah, a man of great, great experience, but let's see if complete idiot numpty novice can have a go. Okay, let's begin. I've just put a bit of brown paper on top of the newspaper because the newsprint was way too distracting. So, first things first, I'm just going to take the brake off. I don't know the official name for this bit. I suppose it's the lock. I call it the brake. Brake's off. And, oh, they're a bit slow to open. That shows me that they really need some help. So the first thing I'm going to do is take off the spring. That's a bit grubby, that'll get clean. And this is why I've got a little dish with me. That's going to go into the dish. So you can see the two little sort of knobs there that stick out. That's where I shall remount the spring. Okay, so the first thing to do, well, second thing, isn't it? Where this cog is held in place by, I don't know if you can make out, there's a little sort of, how to describe it, almost like another little cog here. So I'm going to loosen off this screw so that I can release this section. It's caked in mud. Will I be able to get in there? It needs a little Phillips head. The great thing about having these multi-headed screwdrivers, I've had this for years, it's been absolutely brilliant. It doesn't take up too much space if you're a small home dweller. Okay, am I going to be able to get in there with all that mud? Maybe I can pick it out a bit with... I wasn't intending to pick out mud with this one, but that's cleared it. Oh, I think I need a slightly larger head. Oh, it's tight. Give me a second. Crikey, that took a bit of welly. There was a moment there when I thought I wasn't going to be able to do it and I was going to have to send the whole set back to Falco's to get them to loosen. It's this little screw here which is holding, I'm trying to get it in the light for you, but it's holding, there's a little sort of flap here which holds this cog in place. Yeah, I didn't think that was going to work, but persevere. I'm so determined to not have to pay someone else to do this. So what I'm going to do now is just unscrew it a little bit. I'm not taking it out completely. I'm just going to unscrew it enough so that that little flangey bit that holds the cog in place, I can just see, here it is, this. You see it's got that sort of little toothy edge that locks into the cog to hold that in place. So we're not taking this out completely, leaving it there, but now I can start to dismantle them. So with my huge spanner, I'm just going to remove this central knot that's holding the cog. Can I do it with my fingers now? Because this spanner is so large and unwieldy. But it's about making the most of what you've got, isn't it? So, of course, I sprayed a little tiny bit of WD-40 on there to see if it would help me, which is what all this is on the table now. So now everything's a bit sticky. So, there's the cog off. That's going to go in my dish so I don't lose it. And now, I should be able to get out, just separate them. And now you see this nut here, this little axle, that can come out, also going into the dish. Oh, scary, scary, taking things apart, isn't it? And then not knowing whether you're going to get it back together again. Okay, really careful moment now. I'm going to take the blade off. So, am I doing this right? Oh, there's another screw there. Do I need to undo that? Am I doing the right one? Am I doing the right one? That one doesn't come off, does it? No, it's this one I want. It's this one. This is what I mean about give it a go, but oh, it's scary. Can I get... Oh! What I don't want to do is lose the threads. Hang on, let's get a bit of height and therefore leverage. Oh, Gordon Bennett. Right. This one's a bit of a pickle as well. Give me another minute, see if I can get this sorted. Right, well, this screw here, you see that screw there, that's holding the blade on, I can't budge it. And I'm really wary of going at it and then basically losing the head, as it were. So what I'm going to try and do, slightly amended plan, I'm going to clean them as best I can, and I'm going to try and sharpen it with the blade still on the handle. I don't know how easy that's going to be, but I'm going to have a go, because otherwise I don't know what my other option is other than to send them back to Felco, which, like I said, I don't want to do because of cost. So let's see if we can have a go at cleaning this up a bit. Just with a bit of wire wool. Give it a good scrub. That's all there is to it. Being super careful of that sharp edge. I mean, it's not as sharp now as it was obviously at the beginning of this season, but it's still to be mindful of. And they're obviously never going to look like new again. Getting all those little nooks and crannies, or as I used to call them when I was a kid, crooks and nannies. This will be so much easier with the blade off. Oh, never mind. Let's just see what we can do. Is that as clean as it's going to come? Okay, not too bad. The other one. quite enjoyable. Apart from the nervousness about the blade, the sharp, and the nervousness of breaking the screw thread. Yeah. I think it's satisfaction as well, isn't it, of knowing we're doing the right thing for our tools, and therefore for ourselves. Okay. So, right, okay, I think that's as clean as I'm going to get it. Not too bad. It's time to see if I can sharpen this blade whilst it's still on. I've no idea, but let's give it a go, because if I don't give it a go, I won't know. I think what I'll do is I'll start with the less rough side. So that's my cutting edge on this side. So I just want to, it's getting the angle whilst I haven't got the blade free. I wonder if, so I'm slightly, I don't know if you can see, I'm going to slightly angle it so it's about 25 degrees, 30 degrees, and just gently if you can pick that up, can you see how it's starting to get an edge again? You can see where it's clean. I don't think this is necessarily the perfect way to do it with the blade still on, but it's sort of better than nothing. Oh my goodness. Oh Cliff, I apologise. Yeah. Can you see? I don't know if that's going to pick up. Oh yeah, that does look, that's definitely better. I apologise to anyone watching who is a master craftsman or a master sharpener looking at this thinking, what is she doing? Yeah, I can see that's, can you see that glinting there? It's much better. And then Cliff gently rubbed the other side just to take off any burrs. He did that one flat. Yeah, I can see that's better as well. Okay, well I think that's the best I'm going to be able to do without getting the whole blade off. What I might do in the meantime is I might write to Felco and say, oh yeah, that's sharp, and say, look, I can't get this screw off. Can I send it to you and you do it for me for free? Just get the screw bit out. Right, never mind that. I'll do that at another point. Now I've got to put it back together again. Oh, fun. Am I going to be able to do it? So, right. Which way round? So it's like that, isn't it? Is that right? Yeah, it must be, because then I hold them together like that. Yes. So, whereas that's going to go back around there. I need my little axle bit. Actually, I'm just going to give that a clean with the rag. in the absence of being able to be in the garden, I have to say it's quite nice to get mucky indoors. So, comes up through the bladed handle, and then actually let's get, I'm being a bit cat-handed, sorry, up through, oh no, I do need to do it with that in place. I see, it's got ever so slightly, can you make that out? There's, that edge is ever so slightly flat, and it lines up with, can you see the flat edge there on that side? So it needs to be about there. There we go. Now, it was at this point that Cliff introduced a wee drop of oil on there. So because I haven't got a dropper and I don't want to flood it, actually I'm going to spray a little bit into the cap, and then I can just drip it onto there. Good. Okay, axle is back in. Now I need the cog. Give this a bit of a clean with the rag as well. Okay, so hoopla. No, it's gone on wonky. So screw that down. Finger tight at this stage. Now before I, oh, that's a nice sound, isn't it? So before I tighten that cog and then put the brake back on, my little brake, I'm calling it, I'm going to pop the spring back in so that I can have a feel of it. Let's give that a bit of a clean with the rag too. And that's as clean as it's going to get. So back on those little posts on the inside of each handle. Gotcha. Everything is easier said than done, isn't it? On you go. Right. Oh, that feels perfect where I've got it. So I think I'm going to just lock that off there for the second. And then what do I need to do next? Do I need to get this one in place first? I think if I just adjust that. That's the spring crunching. You can hear that sound, that's the spring. But I think in terms of the blades passing, that's pretty much perfect. So, back to the beginning where this little flangey bit is. I'm just going to bring it around. Whoops, just loosen that screw a bit more. So I can pop it up. Easier said than done. Up and around, and then I'm just getting it so that where those little teeth are, they're into the cog, and that's going to grip and lock that cog in place. So let's tighten this up now. Oh, reverse. Just before I tighten everything too much, just want to see again how it feels. that feels really lovely. Now what I need to do is just tighten up this little brake thing, because that's been getting floppier and floppier all season. It kept swinging shut. Can you hear the spring? That spring sounds like my knees. Do you know what, guys and girls? I think that's okay. Maybe just one more tighten on that. One more tighten there. There we go. There's no doubt about it. That was a little bit of a cack-handed effort. But you know what? I've done the best I can do with what I've got. And, oh, look. Shiny, clean blades. And more importantly, that new cutting edge. Great, I'm chuffed. So yeah, I haven't done it as beautifully and as elegantly as Cliff, but I think one of the reasons I wanted to do this and share it with you guys is to show A, how to do it, sort of, but B, to show you, you know, it's always worth having a go yourself. You know, take a deep breath, just be a bit confident, just say, I can do it, I can have a go. With something like the Felcoes, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to have to send them back to Felcoes to say, can you fix what I've done wrong, please? It may be in time that at some point I will send them back to see if they can get that screw that's holding the blade in to just give that a bit of a loosen for me, so I can get the blade out properly and give it a proper sharpen. But I'm going to say that for someone who's terrified of sharps and blades and glass and needles and anything sharp in general, I'm really glad I've had a go. And for someone who's never used a sharpening stone before, I know it probably shows, but it's worked. And it's one of those things, isn't it? The more I do it, the more accustomed to it I'll become and the more proficient I'll become. But we all have to start somewhere. So yeah, the message of this video is just have a go, because you never know. You may just do it and then you'll feel really, really great about doing it, about achieving it. So the acid test, of course, will be get these back to the garden and have a go at chopping something with them. I've got a few things in mind. I'm so pleased. You know, it's not perfect, but I tell you what, they at least look a darn sight better than they did half an hour ago. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today whilst I got mucky indoors. I will see you, I think, will I see you in the garden next? I may see you right here next, but doing something a bit cleaner, probably with fabric. Whatever it is, I will see you soon. Cheerio for now. Stay well, look after yourselves and each other, and go delving in your toolbox and see what needs having a go at. Bye for now.